Okay, so thank you so much for letting me come out and observe you working with your client.
Yeah.
It was really fun, and
He's
you guys,
adorable.
you guys have great rapport. There were some really just amazing things that you were able to work into his therapy very naturally. So you have a really good grasp of natural environment training, which was nice, because there were times where you're working on some pretty complex skills, and he definitely was, in the moment and not really aware that you were working on a challenging target. So that was really great. I also think you did a really nice job in terms of your prompting and fading strategies. Again, very naturalistic prompts for this kind of, learner, because he is learning advanced skills. And so your prompts were very natural, and they were also faded very naturally, which I thought was great.
Oh, thank you.
And then when you were also working on kind of the more academic tasks at the table, and you were using more of a structured discrimination training procedure, you did a really great job kind of following through with that and being very systematic with how you were, presenting the SD, presenting the distractors, and the error correction procedure was really nice. So there were a lot of really great things that you seem to be, have a really great handle on, and you're definitely an asset on that case. There were a couple things that I wanted to talk about, because I thought maybe there would be a few suggestions or tweaks that you can make that might help things run a little bit smoother during one or two times that I saw him kind of have difficulty during the session.
Okay.
One of the things was about maybe 2/3 of the way through the session, he seemed to become unmotivated, or he was not motivated for what you were offering. And so maybe trying to do more frequent preference assessments with him during the session could be something. And so how do you typically assess preference for him right now?
Usually I can just ask.
Okay.
And he'll tell me what he wants.
So kind of just the verbal. Okay, good. So you can definitely rely on that with him. But sometimes, a lot of kids forget some of the other options that are available to them.
Right.
Okay. And so I noticed that he kind of, after 2 or 3 things that he kept asking for, he really didn't want anything beyond that.
Yeah.
So, maybe doing something where you're offering him multiple choices of things even outside or activities, or even giving him a written, because he can read.
Right.
Like a written kind of choice board of, here's 10 things that we can do even outside, because sometimes the social reinforcement works really well, and it seemed like he was really motivated by that.
Okay.
But that tends to be one of the things that a lot of kids sometimes forget that they can ask for.
Right. Okay.
So if you even just write out the names of games or, fun things that you guys can do outside, maybe that would be a way to help him be more motivated, kind of when it gets to those more trickier times.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing that I saw was I was able to, again, witness some of the parent training that you did with his mom. And really applaud you, because you were doing a really nice job explaining why extinction was so important to use in regards to his tantrum behavior. And you really have a great mastery of all the behavior analytic language.
Thank you.
What I did notice, though, is that there were a couple times where it seemed like it was going over Mom's head.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's hard as behaviorists. Sometimes we get so kind of used to speaking in a certain way and using that terminology, and we forget that people who don't have that level of training don't necessarily understand what it means. What is an extinction burst? What is spontaneous recovery? All that kind of stuff. So when you're talking with parents, I think maybe a good strategy that you can start using would be use the behavior, terminology, because we want her to learn those terms.
Right, yeah.
But then follow up and explain it in more layman's terminology.
Okay.
So we might see something that's called an extinction burst. And what that basically means is that you might see the behaviors increase because he's trying something that was working for him in the past isn't working anymore. And so now he's going to start doing it more and more and more to see if you're going to give in at some point. Okay. So making sure that you kind of use that terminology, but then back it up with a more kind of layman's level of understanding.
Yeah, maybe use examples.
Exactly. A lot of examples. Because that's what's going to stick with her. Okay. And she's going to be able to then remember that and hopefully recall it later.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Okay. But overall, it was a really great observation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.